So, again, what could be smaller than a cell? It's these parts that are called
Nucleus?
Cell parts.
they're cell parts, and they're called. I use the word starts with an O. Can anyone recall what that word is?
Organs.
Organelles. Like we have organs, but cell parts have organelles. So, let me move the slide. There we go. So the cell membrane, first of all, holds the cell together. So on your paper, your job is to write down a few important parts. Notice I already filled out much of it for you. And then you're going to draw a picture. So the cell membrane surrounds the cell. All cells have a cell membrane. And the cell membrane controls what goes in and out of the cell. Now, plant cells, which are different than animal cells, they have something special outside of the membrane called the cell wall. And the cell wall gives the cell structure. It makes it hard. Our cells, press your skin. See how it's all squishy? We do not have cell walls. That makes us squishy. Like a donut. Okay, now here's a picture that you should draw of the cell membrane. Don't get too detailed with it. And see where it says to draw a picture. So the cell membrane has 2 layers to it. They call that a bilayer. And bi as in bicycle. Do you know what that means, bi? 2. Means 2. Because there's 2 layers to it. Okay, so don't get too detailed with it. You really just need to know that it has 2 layers. Every cell has 2 layers of membrane. Okay. So, any questions so far about the cell membrane? Now let's take a look inside the cell. There is something called cytoplasm. And it's the gelatin-like fluid inside the cell. I like to call it cell juice. Cell juice is it's just liquid, basically. And most of the chemical reactions occur within this cytoplasm. Can you all say cytoplasm? Okay, great. Now, here is a simple picture of a cell. And the cytoplasm would just be everything that's in this area, all that fluid. Okay? And again, draw a simple picture. And you can see here is what we just learned about, the cell membrane. Again, keep it simple. All right, moving on. The nucleus. The nucleus is the cell's library. And what does a library have in it? And what do books have in them? Information, I heard. What else do they have?
Letters.
Yeah, letters. Yes, the nucleus definitely has all those. So it acts like the cell's brain. It contains something called DNA. You may or may not have heard of DNA. We will learn more about it later. But DNA basically controls the cell. It determines what the cell is going to be like, what it's going to do. So that's why the nucleus is kind of like the brain of the cell. If you do not have a nucleus in the cell will not be able to function.
It would be brain cell dead.
Yes, it would be brain dead. It would be a zombie cell.
Oh, that's so cool.
Do zombies not have brains?
Zombies do.
That's why they
You know,
eat
zombies are actually real because of the biochemicals that the bio.
No, they're not real.
Yes,
Please,
they are.
Elijah. Yes, Caitlin. Okay, wait. Caitlin has something to share. Yes.
In a movie, if the zombie eats your brain, you're dead, but if they leave your brain untouched, you're a zombie. Yes.
Oh, I see. Okay. So if they like bite your arm and your brain stays intact, then you are a zombie. Okay. And then zombies do not like to eat other zombies' brains. So why is a zombie brain not as good as a regular a non?
Rotten is dead.
Okay. Yes.
Actually, it's like it's not really. It's not really a zombie, but it's like it's a little animal that it's kind of like it's like a disease or something. It's like I think it only affects ants at the moment. But it's
Oh, like a parasite. I know what you're talking about. Yes. There is there's a wasp, I believe, that takes over an ant's brain.
yeah. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, back to the nucleus. Sorry, Maddie. Did you have something quick to share?
Yeah.
Okay.
A while ago, there was like this bath salt thing where it was like.
Oh yeah.
People had it in the sky, ate off another guy's face.
Yeah, I heard about that.
That was really gross.
Okay, see this thing that I'm coloring pink? That is the nucleus. Basically, you just need to know that in a cell, there's a large part in it called a nucleus. It's when you look at the cell, that's the easiest part to see. And when you look at cells, hopefully you'll see a little dot. And if you see that little dot, that's the nucleus. And you're lucky if you see it. So organelles are actually very difficult to see with our microscopes. Now, this other stuff right here, don't worry about all that other stuff too much. Just worry about, I would just draw the cell and then the membrane, and then that's, the membrane and the nucleus, and that should be good enough. Okay, let's move on. So, we briefly discussed the cell wall. It's found only in plants, and again, it's what makes cells of plants hard. It's what makes tree, wood hard. It's what makes plants stand up. Notice that plants don't have a skeleton. We thankfully have a skeleton that makes us be able to stand up straight. Plants don't have that. So they're kept up by two things really, water and a cell wall. The cell wall is also known as, is made of something called cellulose or fiber. So you may have heard people talking about how you need to eat your fiber. Have you heard that before? Yeah. Fiber helps you go to the bathroom. So, if you can't go number 2, it means that you need more cell walls in your diet. Well, it helps you poop. Cell walls help you poop. Yeah. So, we have a lot to be thankful for. All right, so here's a picture of a cell wall. And you could see right here is the cell membrane. And then outside of that here is the cell wall. And then you could see that this is a conjunction of 3 cells. Okay, and then we are short on time, so moving on. There is also something found only in plants called chloroplasts. This is what makes them green. Chloroplasts convert sunlight into sugar through a process that you probably learned about in 5th or 6th grade. Does anyone remember the word? It has 5 syllables.
Photosynthesis.
Somebody said it without raising their hand.
Yeah.
Yes, Elijah.
Photosynthesis.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It is photosynthesis. The easy way to think about it is that photo means light, and synthesis means to make something. Why is this eraser? I thought it erases everything. Oh, I'm thinking of notability. So photo means light, and synthesis means to put something together, to build something. Okay, so let's take a look. The main thing that you would, the main characteristic of chloroplasts is that they have green discs that look like little stacks of coins. They're called thylakoids. You don't really need to know the thylakoid part, so you don't need to worry too much about that, or even that. But if you want to write that and learn it, that's fine. But I wouldn't ask you that on a test. Okay, moving on. Mitochondria is the cell's power plant. This is where a cell gets its energy. Mitochondria will take the sugar that you eat, and you know when you eat a candy bar, that sugar goes to your mitochondria, and then your mitochondria takes that sugar and breaks it down into something called ATP. That is very important to know. And that ATP is the fuel for your cell. Does anyone have any questions so far? Moving on. Here's a picture of the mitochondrion. Mitochondrion is the singular. So if I put mitochondrion, that's one mitochondrion. If I have two, that would be mitochondria. Now, the main thing you want to notice is that you have two membranes on a mitochondrion. You have the outer membrane, and then you have an inner membrane that's squiggly, is wrinkly. It does look a little bit like a baby carriage with a really ugly baby.
Like the baby is cut open.
Yeah, but this is cut open, so that is something to remember. This is cut open like a baby carriage.
Ew. Poor baby.
Okay, so this is a part that you didn't need to write about. It's called a vacuole. A vacuole is stores a bunch of liquid.
Probably more than that.
Okay, and they're mostly in plant cells. Here's a picture of a vacuole. In plant cells, they have these large vacuoles that often take up most of the space in the cell, and that's what stores water. And there's also these things called lysosomes, which you do not need to write about. Who was it? Oh, Holly, you mentioned cell suicide?
Oh, yeah.
So lysosomes, they have these enzymes that break down waste, and then they also make the cell commit suicide. If a cell wants to kill itself.
It commits suicide. How can a cell
If a cell doesn't want to be around anymore, it could do that. Now, your homework, I hear you guys putting things away. Don't do that yet. We still have a few minutes together. So there's what a lysosome looks like. And plant cells and animal cells you'll need to know about. They have three things that animal cells do not. So this is what plant cells have. So plant cells have a cell wall. They have chloroplasts, and they have large vacuoles. Animals do not. You don't have those three things. You would think that we have more than plants do, right? But no, plants have things that we don't have. Don't be jealous. Stop being jealous. Comparison of plant and animal cells. It's not showing up here, but I have a picture here. So it's if you'll need to finish the back for homework, and you could use this. And at the end of the slideshow, there is a picture. I suggest using the pause button when you need to finish anything that you haven't finished already. And for some reason, it got cut off there. That's fine. So I suggest using the pause button if you need to write something down. Okay, so your homework is on there. You could also use your book to finish it up, but it's the back side of that paper. Questions or comments? Tomorrow we're using microscopes, so just be prepared for that. Yes, Holly.
I know